If you're hunting for a laptop that feels solid enough to survive a commute, looks sharp enough to keep you inspired, and actually gives you the frames you need without emptying your wallet, you're probably a lot more skeptical than excited about another glossy spec sheet. Most of us have bought a gaming laptop that sounded amazing on paper, only to discover a screen that washed out under daylight, a battery that dies before the game even loads, or a chassis that turns into a heatsink the moment the GPU kicks in. That hesitation is real, and the risk of splurging on something that ends up collecting dust is what keeps a lot of buyers scrolling forever. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Lenovo IdeaPad Pro 52025 tries to sit in that sweet spot where a creator-oriented display meets a mid-range gaming GPU, all wrapped in a chassis that you can actually toss in a backpack. What makes it different from the usual just another gaming laptop crowd is the 16-inch 2.8K OLED screen with a 120Hz refresh rate. In practice, that means you get deeper blacks and richer colors when you're editing a YouTube thumbnail, and the same smooth motion when you're pulling off a fast-paced dodge in an indie shooter. It's not a 4K panel that drains the battery in 10 minutes, but it's far more vivid than the typical sRGB IPS you'll see on most budget rigs. Let's talk about who really benefits from that combination. If you're a streamer who also does light video editing, the OLED's color accuracy saves you a few minutes of grading work, and the 120Hz refresh helps keep your gameplay looking fluid on Twitch. The integrated AMD Ryzen 7 3500U with AI acceleration handles the background encoding tasks without choking the game. Pair that with an RTX 5050, and you get decent ray-traced effects on titles like Control or Metro Exodus, though you'll have to dial down settings for a stable 60 frames per second. The 16GB of RAM and a full 1TB SSD give you plenty of headroom for multiple apps, game libraries, and large media files, no more juggling external drives on a cramped desk. Now, the same strengths turn into trade-offs the moment you push the machine harder. The OLED panel, while gorgeous, saps power quickly. Under a full-load gaming session you'll see the battery dip below 20% in under an hour if you keep the brightness high. That's not a surprise for any high-resolution laptop, but it's a concrete thing to plan around. In real-world use, I found that plugging the charger in before I hit a multiplayer match became a habit rather than a convenience. Thermally, the IdeaPad Pro 5 does a respectable job for its size, but the RTX 5050 does generate heat that the slim chassis can't dissipate forever. After about 30 minutes of continuous high-intensity play, the fans kick up noticeably, and you'll notice a slight dip in frame rates as the GPU throttles. It's not a showstopper, but if you're planning marathon sessions of AAA titles, you'll either need to accept lower settings or give the laptop a cooling pad. Connectivity is another area where the laptop shows its business and creator-ready badge. 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports mean you can hook up an external 4K monitor, fast external SSDs, or a docking station without a dongle parade. The Wi-Fi 6E module delivers a stable connection in crowded apartments, which matters if you're streaming or joining a competitive match. The downside here is the lack of an Ethernet port. You'll have to rely on a USB-C adapter if you need a hardwired link for latency-sensitive games. What about the everyday experience? Running Windows 11 Home on this machine feels snappy thanks to the AI-enhanced Ryzen chip. Opening Photoshop, switching to Chrome, and launching a game takes just a few seconds. The keyboard is backlit, and the key travel feels decent for a laptop, but the travel isn't deep enough for those who type for hours on a mechanical board. The trackpad is accurate, but you'll quickly want a separate mouse for precise FPS aiming. The weight lands around 4.3 pounds, which is portable enough for a commuter but not something you'll want to carry around all day without a bag. If you're on a tight budget, there are cheaper alternatives that still hit 1080p 144Hz and can run most games at respectable settings. Think a Ryzen 5 with a GTX 1650. Those machines won't have the OLED allure, but they'll stretch the battery further and stay cooler under load. On the other side of the spectrum, if you're a hardcore AAA enthusiast who wants ray tracing at max settings, you'd be better off waiting for a laptop with an RTX 4060 Ti or higher, even if that means paying a premium. Bottom line, the Lenovo IdeaPad Pro 52025 delivers value when you need a blend of visual fidelity and mid-tier gaming.